Hi guys, this is another quick video. This one I'm going to be giving you a theory to think about. But first, I want to just I was reading a script, a part of the Bible where it says about the animals of the sea and the air and the field being taken away from us. And I've just gone onto this website, www.endtimesprophecy.org / animal deaths, birds, fish, end times. And this is all 2017. This list starts from the 1st of January. I'm going to be going up the page because it starts the latest date at the bottom and the earliest date at the bottom and the latest dates at the top. The list is really long, so I'm not actually going to go through it slowly or read it for you. I just want you to take in how many of these animals have been taken away, just like it prophesies in the Bible. Like we're literally living in the times of the end. So I'm just going to scroll through this. That you can use your rapid eye movement if you have it to scroll, pick out the different numbers and different animals that are dying here. Or alternatively, you can just pause the video and watch it that way. But you can see it's like tens of thousands of fish, 17 tons of fish, 6 dead dolphins, 46,000 livestock, tens of thousands, 600,000 ducks, 90,000 birds, 56 whales, 42,000 birds, thousands of fish, 4,200 water birds, 9 tons of dead fish, 3 more dead dolphins, thousands of cattle, 4,000 chickens, thousands of dead fish, 5,000 goldfish, 25,000 birds, millions of dead shellfish. I can't even keep up. 1 million fish, 38 dead dolphins, 100 tons of fish, 11 hippos, thousands of dead fish again, thousands of bats, wild animals, 500 cattle, carp, 1,200 tons of fish, 41 humpback whales. And we're only in May right now. We've still got like 5 months to scroll through. And this is the amount of life that's been taken, not just in the ones or the twos or the tens but hundreds of thousands at the same time. Like that's far from normal. Scientists will have you believe that these things occur all the time, and if you're looking at the past 6 or 7 years, then you can say that. But before that, these kind of things were not happening. And we're in July, moving into August now. We still have hundreds, a million chickens killed because of avian flu, hundreds of dead shearwater birds, 2 million cattle dead, 300 plus animals dead due to flooding, hundreds of thousands of dead fish, 31 dead sea lions, 41 dead birds, 2 dead turtles, 15 dead turtles, scores of dead fish. We're now entering in September. 2 million chickens, hundreds of tons of fish, 2 million birds, thousands of dead fish, 34 tons, 4,000 pigs, 10,000 jellyfish, 80 tons of fish again, 41,000 birds. And the most recent post they have up here is the 20th of October, which is 125,000 salmon die from disease in salmon farms in Scotland. Now, you saw that list, and you can check it out yourself if you want to read it a little bit more intensively. But that was a list of hundreds of millions of animals dying in this year, and not from natural causes. So that gives you some sort of indication of the time that we're living in. If you're reading the Bible and you can see all these animals of the sea, the air, the field being taken away from us, that time is now. I don't think, I don't think we're in a. I don't know what to say. That this just made me speechless. And I read it before I started recording the video, but just going through it like that, it just kind of shocked me a little bit. This website's not responding. Okay, let me refresh that. We've already seen. Okay, I think it's refreshing. Right, so we've already seen the news about Russia firing its Satan 2 nuke. So I don't really want to go too much into that. What I do want to say is that these people have reached a stage where they no longer care. They're no longer trying to hide anything from us. Everything is just there in plain sight, even more so than it was before. Like when they said plain sight, it would be like, oh, it's encoded in something, or you need to know a certain thing to be able to get this thing. But Russia didn't call it the Satan 2. It was named that by NATO. But to label it Satan 2, and then the news I'm picking up today from North Korea is they're reportedly producing devil's venom rocket fuel. I mean, devil's venom. They're just naming these things after Satan now. They're no longer hiding it. They're fully out there. They know that we know, and we know that they know. But they're so powerful that they feel like they can't be touched. And to be honest, by us, the public, if we came together, we could do something. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen with the amount of division in the world from race, religion, sex, and all these different categories that we all find ourselves being put into or put ourselves into. It just keeps us divided, keeps us separate. Um, the only one that can challenge these people is God and God's servants with the power of God behind them. Otherwise, you've got no chance. So I just wanted to bring that Satan 2 and the devil's venom to your attention to let you know that they're no longer hiding what they want to do, and they're no longer. I mean, if I think of nuclear weapons, they are the devil's toys, and they're about to start playing with them. And then when I picked up this news feed in my email, it's the national tsunami drill that was planned in Fiji. So the national tsunami drill that was scheduled by the government to take place this month has been deferred to allow major responding agencies to complete preparation and conduct necessary awareness. The drill was initiated to minimize disaster risks and the potential threats of tsunamis, where the national tsunami drill will test warning systems, communication systems, and evacuation plans for all coastal communities in Fiji. Do you see a common theme here? Drills, testing systems, testing communication systems, testing missiles, testing evacuation plans, testing earthquake response, testing tsunami response. These are all occurring these years. They say it's happening every year, but it's never been so prominent that it's just like right there in your face to let you know that they're preparing for it. Why aren't we? Just to finish this off, Permanent Secretary for Rural and Maritime Development, Disaster Management and Meteorological Services, Melty Banim, I'm going to attempt it, Banamaram, if I got it right, said although the drill has been deferred, all families, schools and communities in tsunami hazard zones should ensure they have a tsunami evacuation plan and a designated safe zone. Now, Fiji, I know it's in the Pacific, but I had to look it up on the map just to find out like really where it is. And it's around this area here. And then you've got Hawaii over here. Now, North Korea is over here, and they've said that they're going to be, the minister, I think it was, or the UN ambassador for North Korea, said that they should take Kim Jong-un's threat of detonating a hydrogen bomb, H-bomb, in the Pacific Ocean, not above it, but in it. So, keep that in mind. Just stick a pin in that. This is obviously what we all know what the US has said if, North Korea fires a nuke, if they actually go through with their H-bomb test, then it's going to be a massive military response. So you already know that they're gearing up for that. When I searched, I was thinking what would happen if a hydrogen bomb detonated in the Pacific Ocean. According to scientists, it's not powerful enough like an earthquake is magnitudes more powerful than a nuclear detonation. So it wouldn't have the same effect of causing a tsunami, but what it would do is the water would expand rapidly, forming a bubble that surges above the water surface, but due to its colossal size, a chasm known as a reentrant jet forms in the middle of the bubble and it collapses in on itself. As the bubble falls to the water surface, a column of water shoots up into the air, which disintegrates into a series of waves. So although it's not a tsunami, it still would generate a series of waves. What I found interesting after reading that was then reading this. So I think I'm at the top here. Don't need to read that part. Just give me a second to find out where I was. Okay, yeah, it is this part. So basically, the whole article is a rather long one. I can't ever seem to find short articles. But this one is, here's what would happen if North Korea sets up a huge nuclear explosion in the Pacific Ocean. You can check this out on the ukbusinessinsider.com. But I'm going to focus on the part where it says where and how big. So Yong-ho did not specify where or how high North Korea's hypothetical Pacific H-bomb test might occur. However, the foreign minister did reportedly suggest it could be the most powerful ever detonated in the Pacific. If this is not a matter of imprecise wording, such a blast would exceed the US strongest ever nuclear test explosion. Now, it goes on to explain that nuclear test explosion that was the strongest that the US ever detonated. So I'm going to read that for you. On March the 3rd, 1954, the US military set off the shrimp thermonuclear device on a platform in the Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, about 2,300 miles southeast of Japan and 2,700 miles southwest of Hawaii. This was part of the US military's Castle Bravo test series, and the blast was equivalent to exploding 15 million tons of TNT, or roughly 1,000 times as powerful as the US attack on Hiroshima that inflicted some 150,000 casualties. As you can see, that's the video of it there, taken from an aircraft. These weapons are just beyond anything that we've had actually detonated within our lifetimes. While the military considered Shrimp and Bravo a success, its repercussions were disastrous. Researchers underestimated the device's explosive power by nearly threefold, and many were nearly killed when an artificial earthquake shook their concrete observation bunker 20 miles away. So you see, the H-bomb can set off an earthquake, which is one of the things that I'm going to cover in a minute. Author and film producer Eric Schlosser, writing in his book Command and Control: Nuclear Weapons, the Damascus Accident and the Illusion of Safety, captures the raw power of the blast through the perspective of scientist Bernard O'Keefe. About 10 seconds after Shrimp exploded, the underground bunker seemed to be moving, but that didn't make any sense. The concrete bunker was anchored to the island and the walls were 3 feet thick. 3 feet thick. Is this building moving, or am I getting dizzy? Another scientist asked. My God, it is, O'Keefe said. It's moving. O'Keefe began to feel nauseated, and as though he was seasick, and held onto a workbench as objects slid around the room. The bunker was rolling and shaking, he later recalled, like it was resting on a bowl of jelly. The shockwave from the explosion traveling through the ground had reached them faster than the blast wave passing through the air. The scientists ultimately escaped alive, but Marshall Island is located 100 miles from the blast were not so lucky. Shrimp's 4-mile-wide fireball destroyed about 200 billion tons of Bikini Atoll coral reef, turning much of it into radioactive fallout that spread all over the world. The worst of it sprinkled over atolls to the east, killing many people by causing radiation sickness. Today, the 250-foot deep, 1-mile-wide crater left by the blast is visible from space. If North Korea decides to blow a nuclear or thermal device, and the most powerful in the Pacific, we could only hope it is not close to the ground. So if they do decide to detonate in the Pacific Ocean rather than above the Pacific Ocean, it has the potential to generate an artificial earthquake. Knowing the Pacific Ocean is surrounded by the Ring of Fire, which is the tectonic plates that make up the Earth's mantle. If an artificial earthquake was to set off one of those faults, or even all of those faults, I don't think that's possible, but it could definitely set off one of those faults. It could then generate a tsunami, which would then wipe out or at least inundate the coasts of Hawaii or Fiji, which is why I've come, which is relevant because, as I mentioned before, Fiji was preparing to do a tsunami drill, but they've deferred that to some later time. But this has been deferred to allow major responding agencies to complete preparation, which is ringing a bell in my head, and conduct necessary awareness. So they're preparing for a tsunami, and they were supposed to have a drill in October, but they've deferred it to another date, which they haven't disclosed. But they've only deferred it to allow the major responding agencies to complete preparation. Preparation of what? That's the question I have. That's the question I had for that one. Sorry, I'm trying to remember it all, trying to cover it all. Right, so we've gone through what would happen if they detonated a nuclear weapon and possibly cause an artificial earthquake that then generates a tsunami, which could then affect Hawaii, Fiji, and the other small islands in the Pacific, as well as the earthquake possibly setting off the Cascadia Fault or the San Andreas Fault, and that could cause an earthquake in California, LA. These are all suppositions, and this is my hypothesis of the entire scenario, but you'll see where I'm going by the end of this video. Excuse me. Okay, I just wanted to find out when they did their nuclear test, so that's why I've got that search. Just going to close it. Right, so I've covered that. Okay, so now, yes, we're on the right page now, so sorry about that. Basically, I then went on to, after looking at the mass animal deaths, the name of the missile being Satan 2, the naming of the nuclear fuel that North Korea is reportedly producing being Devil's Venom, and then Fiji preparing for a tsunami, and the webpage I read that said that the nuclear device that was detonated by the US, the most powerful nuclear device, caused an artificial earthquake up to, what was it, 100 miles away or something like that? So a quick look. 20 miles away. So it caused an artificial earthquake that shook the bunker from 20 miles away, and obviously it possibly went even further than that. I'm not exactly sure on the total range, but that was where I was heading. Then I started looking at Matthew 24, and I read this one all the time because I feel like the Bible is like a jigsaw, but the pieces aren't in the right order, and you have to kind of figure it out. So, see that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. North Korea, USA, we've got that down. But see to it that you are not alarmed. Difficult when there's nuclear weapons out there, but if God says don't be alarmed, then we shouldn't be alarmed. These things must happen, but the end is still to come. So even though these things are occurring, the end is still some way off. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All of these are the beginning of birth pains. So right now we're entering birth pains, or we're in birth pains at the moment. That's what I can see. The part that I wanted to bring to your attention now is then they will hand you over to be persecuted and killed, and you'll be hated by all nations on account of my name. At that time, many will fall away and will betray and hate one another, and many false prophets will arise and mislead many. Now, that section there, it just had me thinking, what would cause, if we are, well, if I'm correct in the assumption that Jesus is talking about the Jews when he says you will be hated by all nations, so the Jews or Israel will be hated by all nations on the account of his name, my thoughts were, what would cause Israel to be hated by literally the entire world? And there's only a couple of scenarios that I can actually think of which would cause that to happen. And I haven't got any visuals for you on this part, so I'm just going to have to go through it quickly. But please pay attention to it, because I feel like I might be onto something here in terms of the game that they're playing and the events that may be to come. So, first of all, North Korea has to detonate a hydrogen bomb. They have to do that in the Pacific. If that causes an earthquake, which causes a tsunami, which causes Hawaii and Fiji to be devastated, and possibly California to be devastated by an earthquake as well, which is through possible fault line activation, America would attack North Korea. That's a given. They've already said that if North Korea launch a nuclear weapon, they'll be attacked. So regardless of whether it causes an earthquake, tsunami, or devastates Hawaii, Fiji, or any of those other Pacific islands, or even causes an earthquake on the California coastline, America will attack them regardless of if any of that happens. They only have to launch a nuclear weapon. So after that, I feel that China would step in on behalf of North Korea, because if they've detonated a nuclear bomb in the Pacific Ocean, they haven't necessarily attacked America. And China have already said that if North Korea attack America, they won't back up North Korea. But if America attacks first, then they'll back up North Korea. So in this scenario, North Korea hasn't actually attacked America, but America have attacked North Korea. So that's where China steps in, and they'll be against South Korea, the USA, and Japan. Now, I feel this is where it gets a bit sticky in my head, but I want to get it out. I feel that Russia would then be the ones who detonate the nuke above the US, the EMP that we've been talking about, the blackout bomb, or whatever you want to call it. I feel like that will be detonated over New York area. I don't know if it's powerful enough to cause a complete blackout of the entire country, or if it's just going to be a partial blackout of some areas of the country. But that's the route I feel that will be taken. After that, the USA would most likely retreat back home because of what's going on its mainland. As Donald Trump says, they're putting America first. So I feel like the USA would maybe not all of its forces, but a huge chunk of its forces. Right now, they've got 3 aircraft carriers over there. They'd probably pull back maybe 2 of those aircraft carriers if they could, if communications were okay, or they might pull them all back to protect the US mainland. Once they do that, North Korea and China will move into South Korea, and they will take on South Korea and Japan, and I feel like they would win. They would win that battle. Simultaneously, while that's going on, I feel like Russia will be attacking the east coast of the United States with submarines, and at the same time, the army will be split into two forces. So they'll be attacking the east coast of the United States, and they'll be moving into Poland. So they've already annexed part of Ukraine, and they'll move in to take on the rest of Ukraine, and they'll also move into Poland, which is like a direct line between uh, like the NATO forces, the EU forces, and Russia. So I feel like they close that line and they'd move into Poland, which would then cause NATO to move in to stop Russia. I feel at that time England might be the next target, London specifically, whether that's by conventional weaponry or by nuclear attack. It could even be an EMP over London as well. While that's all going on, stick with me. At the same time, I feel like North Korea and China, having taken on South Korea and Japan, will then move in to attack the east coast of the United States. So you'll have Russian forces on the west and China and North Korean forces on the east, as well as Russian forces taking on NATO at the same time. While this is happening, I feel like there's a lot of while this is going on, it's all like a chain effect. But I feel like while that's happening, because the US will be inundated not only from the EMP, but also from North Korea and China on the west coast of the United States, northeast, southwest, yeah, west coast of the United States, and Russia on the east coast of the United States, I feel Israel will then attack Iran because their security, which stems from America, will be vulnerable. So in order to cut off Iran from attacking them or from developing nuclear weapons, I feel like Israel will be the first to attack. So if that happens, in the iPad Go video, I'm not gonna, maybe I should just quickly, no, forget it. You've all seen the video many times by now. If you haven't seen it, type in iPad Go on YouTube and watch it. But basically in that video, you've got 3 airplanes or 3 planes that come in and launch a missile of some sort, and that lands in a mosque. What I feel that scenario is Israel attacks Iran and they accidentally or purposely blow up a mosque. Either if it's an accident, then it's an accident. If it's purposely, they probably did it because they believed that terrorists or something were using the mosque as cover. I feel that the scenario we see in the iPad Goat video with the mother and the child being dead and the mother holding the little jar that seems to have a nuclear explosion coming out of it, would unite the Middle East against Israel. If men, women and children are killed in a mosque, that will end the Sunni-Shia war that's been going on for 1,400 years or so. That conflict would come to an end like that. The Shias and the Sunnis would join together, and the Middle East would be united for the first time in a thousand or so years. That would then mean that Israel would have to nuke Iran, not just attack it with a conventional missile, but actually nuke it. If they did nuke Iran, that would definitely spur the Middle East, the remnants of the Middle East, to move in to attack Israel. Now in the Bible it says that in Israel there'll be a great earthquake when like a massive army's coming to them. I don't know if that's a natural earthquake or a man-made earthquake, but something happens in Israel to kind of like stop the advancing of the first army. The remnants of that army from the Middle East will then join up with Russia and China to come against Israel again. This is where we get into the very end, because that's the time where we're talking about the I think it was 200,000, 200. I can't remember the number that he says he hears from the Lord when referring to the number of the army. But basically, the river Euphrates will dry up, and that will prepare the way for the armies from the east. And basically, the armies of the east are Russia, China, and the Middle East coming together against Israel. That is when Jesus returns. So, thank you for listening. If you managed to stick with me through that and you got everything I was saying, thank you. That is the time when it comes to the end. So we've got a lot more to go through. We've got a lot of scenarios to go through. If my interpretation of the scenarios is correct, and this war game is played out in this way, then we've still got some way to go. but it all starts with North Korea launching that either a nuclear weapon into the Pacific or a H-bomb into the Pacific. Whether it causes a artificial earthquake and tsunami, that's something you can just put a pin into the side. But regardless of whether an earthquake or tsunami is generated from the H-bomb, America have already said that there will be a massive response to any nuclear weapon that North Korea launches. And as I said, China have already said if North Korea attack first, they won't help. But if America attack first, they will help North Korea. So that's it. I just wanted to give you the scenario. Sorry, there's no animations and music and stuff like that. I just hope that you was able to hear the words that I was saying. This is not like a doomsday kick. This is me trying to get the word out. These thoughts are coming into my mind, and they're important enough for me to feel like I need to present them to you. You may disagree with my breakdown of the scenario, but you have to agree that the first step in this chain has to be a provocation from North Korea. If America was going to attack North Korea without launching a nuclear weapon, they would have done it already. They've got 3 aircraft carriers over there. They're practicing evacuation drills and military drills. They would have already done it. They're waiting for North Korea to attack, and they're pushing North Korea to attack. As I said, I don't think North Korea will attack the mainland United States. I think it will be that the H-bomb that they said they're going to test in the Pacific, but that will spark the next stage of events to come.